Well, we'll figure it out in a minute. Anything? What? I have something? Okay. Just one more minute. Are you just doing the switcheroo right now? Do I need to talk so you can hear it, or
Yeah,
if anybody hears anything, let us know.
Oh, we got sound.
We have sound. We do have sound.
But it
Yes,
might be
no?
sound from my laptop, not from your mic, so it's not going to.
Okay, somebody tell us the quality of the sound. I mean, if it was on this expensive mic, it would be like perfect. If it's on the camera in front of me, it's going to be okay. If it's on the laptop further back, it's going to sound like I'm in a tunnel, probably, a half a block away. So, what kind of audio are we getting from you guys? What do you hear? Can you tell where the audio is coming from at this time? But we are getting audio, right? Is the audio enough for me to go through with this live broadcast? Just let me know.
Slight delay. Sounds good, but not perfect. There's a delay.
There's a delay, meaning that okay, so the audio is coming from a different source than the camera.
It's delayed.
That's what's happening. That's probably gonna really be awkward. The audio needs to come from the same device. What? Wait a minute.
Am I the camera guy louder than Ralph?
Yeah, it was Aaron louder than me just then. Any feedback on that? Okay. Interesting. Typically you would do it live like through a cell phone, which that seems to be the easy way to do it. But then, they overheat, and there's all kinds of complications with quality and things like that. But we've invested in a lot of nice equipment, and I'm sure it's going to do the job. We may have just hooked something up wrong or something, but this is our first YouTube broadcast with our new equipment, so we're trying to work the bugs out so we can do this on a regular basis, and we won't have to go through this anymore. But at least we have audio now. But you probably are getting it from a source that you didn't mean to get it from. What do you think now?
I can hear you. No.
It was working perfectly yesterday when we tested
it a few times yesterday.
Now it's not working. Of course, that's the way everything works.
Alright, I'm trying to figure it out.
Okay. So, how many people we have online with us that are patiently waiting? Okay.
Then the setting.
Probably need to get in that screen or something. Okay. Well, I can't wait to do this live broadcast. Don't worry, we'll have plenty more. We're going to do this on a regular basis, but I need to get a little feedback from everybody to see, when, is the best times, and, how often. Just want to, do what works for everybody, because I'm just here to help. I'm here to have fun with this. And we're going to make it a really good quality. We've got 2 camera angles. We're going to have more maybe one day if we need them. We've got obviously some good audio, wireless mics. We got all this equipment. We just have to put it all together, I guess, and make sure it's all jiving right, so we can deliver the best quality to you. And that's what our goal is. I don't know if you can hear a word I'm saying, but if you can, that's pretty cool. But
while I fix it, there's a few questions popping up.
Yeah.
So just bear with us.
Okay.
Trying to fix the audio issues, but for the most part, this first stream is a test just to see, to get all the bugs out. But Mill is wondering if you could come out with a clear film for paint and headlights to compete with Expel.
Well, here at Flexfilm, we don't manufacture anything. We're private label distributors. And, that's a good question because if I were to take on a product like you described, that would mean that I would have to ensure that product would be quality, like Expel. It would have to be a solid product with a track record that I could trust. One thing that I've promised all my customers and myself, my family, my reputation, Flexfilm is no longer a testing grounds for window films. And what I mean by that is when I first started, I mean, at ground zero, hey, I want to distribute window film. I was testing manufacturers, products, and I made some mistakes, and I had a lot of dumb luck. I mean, I picked some good films, and they're still with us to this day. And I'll admit, I was in testing mode. I was trying to see what was going to fly, what was going to die. Unfortunately, I did pick some bad films that I say scarred my reputation a little bit or my company. Some people probably would never use us again if they got a hold of some of the earlier products that we decided to carry. And I don't regret the mistakes that I made. I just won't make them again. And I guess so. Here's the answer to your question. Yes, I probably will carry a product, and it won't be in the distant future, but it's going to be a product that is something with a track record, with a history, with guaranteed stability. I mean, it is going to be a man-made product. We are going to have to wrestle with quality control issues like anybody, but you know, we know if it has a history in the industry of being favorable and lasting, it'll show up in a Flexfilm box. I can promise you that. I can promise you that. But I'm not going to test anybody's new film that just came out last week, and there's a lot of tempting products to test, but not going to do it here, man. But one day soon, there's something going to happen. Can everybody hear me? Is it working?
Well, yeah, everybody can hear you. It's just not the best quality.
Okay.
Because the wireless lob's not working. Okay. But Mel said Expel charges $10K for a full car wrap. That's ridiculous.
Well, I can tell you this. I'll share some trade secrets with you. I can buy products like that. A private label distributor with a reputation like Flexfilm, as long as we've been in the business, can just about approach anywhere, reasonably anywhere, and we can buy a product like that. And I might be exaggerating a little bit, but just to make my point, I could buy a tractor trailer load of it, and I'll get that product at a better price, and that'll allow me to resell it and mark it up slightly and not have to really sell it as much as the original manufacturer is selling it for retail. It's pretty cool. That's why I'm here. But it's expensive. Paint protection that has all the technology that you would expect it to have, top coats, all the the latest and great. I'm just going to leave it simple like that, not go into the detail. To get that and to get a product that's reliable and has a great track record, you're going to pay a lot of money for it. And I found that buying it in bulk and selling it in bulk, there was not a lot of profit in it because it's just hard to find it in that respect with brand names and quality products. But we could buy it in bulk and we could sell it in pre-cut kits and actually fare quite well. And I guess the question I have for you or anybody listening, of course, is, if we had a quality product, would you buy it in bulk or would you buy it in pre-cut kits? That is a question I have for you guys. I'm not a paint protection self-proclaimed expert. I'm a window tinter, automotive. And I know enough about paint protection to be quite dangerous, but I don't know all the answers, and that's one of the reasons I'm doing this live broadcast, so that I get as much feedback from you guys as hopefully I can deliver. It's definitely a mutual situation going on here. So I'd like to know what you got. What anything coming in on that?
We got Jeff K. Here in Philadelphia, we have inspection stickers. How do you recommend cleaning the glass with that obstacle? I managed to get some trash get caught nearby the stickers. How would you recommend this for full windshield tints?
Okay. Listen, there's two sides of my brain going on right here. I've got this professional side going on because I'm a distributor and I want to give out, professional advice. But man, I'm sorry, I'm a tinter too. I'm out there trying to make $1 and I'm trying to tint front windshields, and I'm dealing with things like that. But I am from Georgia, and I'm also in Alabama. I'm really right on the line. So neither one of those states has the inspection sticker. So that was an obstacle I didn't have to worry about. But I do a lot of business with all 50 states, tenders from everywhere, and I got the word on the street. I'm asking these guys, what are y'all guys doing about the inspection stickers? I have a lot of stories to tell you about that, and I won't bore you with the details of long stories, but a lot of people are finding out ways to remove the inspection stickers. If you want to know, I'll give you some details on that, but let me kind of move on with the question. But let's say after the sticker has been taken off, I've been seeing people literally like laminate the stickers. I've even seen people actually rub Vaseline on the windows, and when they put the inspection stickers on, they can easily take them off, and the people that put the inspection stickers on don't know about it. But I like the way they laminate them, with the static cling material that they're buying at Walmart, and that way they can take this inspection sticker on and off. Um, I just know there's a lot of tricks. I'm not like the expert on all the tricks, but I am sharing these funny stories that I'm hearing from some experts that have to deal with that problem because their respectable states have the inspection stickers and they want to tint front windshields. And I mean, I got guys that are cutting around it. Maybe that's what you were trying to do. Maybe you were getting dirt around it from just tinting over it. I think there's some better ways to deal with inspection stickers. There's even tenders that are telling me how they're these customers of theirs are paying to have the windows tinted. After, let me think about that for a second. They're getting the inspection stickers, removing the inspection stickers, putting them back on, after they get the windows tinted, and then when they go back for reinspection, they take the tint off, and then they start over again. They're paying to get the windows tinted over and over and over. But I don't know if I've given you an adequate answer, but those are some cool things I just want to share that I've just been hearing through the grapevine. I'm not necessarily endorsing them. I'm just sharing it. I'm just here to share. So, yeah, any more feedback on that?
Got another one.
Okay.
Most new vehicles now have a lot of matrix dots and complex rear view mirrors. I've been using 2 separate pieces of film to install on these types of vehicles. Do you recommend something else? Tint strips.
Okay, first of all, that's a good question. I want to answer because man, I can go crazy with this dot matrix stuff, but I'm a little confused about the question because when we use the word dot matrix, I'm assuming you're talking about on back windows up close to the top, not around the perimeter of most windows that are real thin. I think you're talking about the thicker ones, and around the rear view mirrors, there's usually a little patch of matrix area there that's sort of tricky to deal with. Is that what you're talking about? If it is, I'll just address. I do know you're talking about the mirror. I'll address that first. If you just put a regular strip across there, you're going to you're going to contend with those dots, especially if they're on the outside. Sometimes they can be on the inside.
Large areas on the front windshield.
Okay, so we're talking about those large areas that are around the bracket. The bracket, yeah. Okay. What I've seen several things. I've seen people. Okay, I'm just going to go with the worst things first. Some people just tint over them and they don't care, and they look unattractive. Okay, we know that. That's the easy way to do it. Some people can actually tint them, but before they tint it, they sand them, and sometimes they can push and press and make them look a little more attractive. Still not the perfect solution. Some people can actually tint them, pull it back after it's been tinted. You squeegee everything out. You pull it back, and then you put glue and you massage it in the area and carefully put the film back on. Spray it a little bit more and put it back on, and then you work the glue around and you can finagle it out with glue. That's very tricky. The more common ways that I see are people taking vinyl. You can get a weatherable vinyl. The thinner the better usually, but the vinyl, opaque black. Some people are using different brands. There is a brand that we sell. I got my catalog right here. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna find it myself real quick. It's called I don't know how well this camera. It's called the Dotrix. I don't know if you can see that Dotrix right there. This vinyl is actually is a weatherable vinyl. It's opaque. It's black. It's real thin. It has a window film PS adhesive on it. Buddy of mine in Texas has actually contracted to put that product together, and it's sold at we sell it at Flexfilm. You can buy it at a lot of places that supply window film tools. And what you do is you tint that first with the vinyl, and you cut it out and you apply it over the the dots, and then you can tint over it, or or maybe you can tint it first and then cut it out and then put the vinyl on it. Which is the little piece of tint that you cut out, you can use it as a pattern. And the problem though that you really have to address, and this is sort of a tip on top of a tip, is you're going to have a little bitty line where the vinyl overlaps the tint after it dries. At first it'll look good because the water will be filled in it, but you have to pull that back, massage glue in there. I know it's an extra step, but you massage glue in there, carefully put it back on, and then just kind of ease it down and make sure that crack stays full of glue. And I like the Elmer School Glue Gel. That's what I use. There's a couple other ones we can talk about, but that water soluble glue will dry in that crack and forever make it where it doesn't leave an air pocket around it, which looks unattractive. And then you've seamed it all together. You've got the blackout vinyl, you've got the tint going on, usually 5% or something kind of dark across the top, and everything sort of blends together. It's pretty cool. That's what I recommend. That's what we do a lot. And I can go into a couple other things that people are doing. Sometimes the Mustangs have the horse on them, and people want to do some funny things with the chrome or some white, window film to try to make that contrast. But that's really specialty stuff. Doesn't happen very often. Probably not even worth talking about on this live stream. Any more questions or?
Yeah. So Jay Wise. How to cut your tackle, a 2010 Cadillac V Coupe. Those windows pop out of seal so much after rolling down when cutting your window layout.
I didn't understand that. Okay, first of all, what's the car?
A 2010 Cadillac V Coupe.
V Coupe, okay.
Yeah, okay. The windows pop out of the seal so much after rolling down.
Okay.
When cutting your window pattern, I think is what he's saying.
I'm not familiar with that car. I'm not an active everyday window tinter, and sometimes I have to have a cheat like a Google picture or something to see the car. But I've got a phone right here with me. I can Google it real quick. What is it? Is it 2010 what?
Cadillac V Coupe.
Okay. 2000. Yeah.
10.
Okay. 2010 V Coupe. Oh, I've got this. Hold on. Okay. It's waiting. Okay, here we go. Images. Okay, which windows is he talking about? Are we talking about the? Are we talking about the little quarter glass here, or the one that rolls up and down, or that doesn't look like any windows.
Cadillac CTS.
Yeah,
Is that what you're on? Is that what you're looking at?
It's a CTSV coupe. It's a coupe, right?
Yeah.
I don't
you know what? I have to come back to that question.
Yeah, I don't understand the question exactly, but I don't know if the window moving or popping out of the car. I'm sorry, I could be misunderstanding the question.
All right, when tinting roll-up windows, how much time must you let the tint dry before using or moving the windows?
Okay, well, first of all, that's a good question, but it's got a lot of different answers, and it's got a lot of right answers. First of all, when you wet a piece of glass, I could show you back here, but when you wet a piece of glass and you peel the tint and wet it and you start to stick them together, you've got to evacuate the slip solution. Now, it depends on what type of adhesive that you have. Some adhesives are very thin and tacky, the pressure sensitive adhesives, and there's another style PS adhesive that's actually a low tack quick release formula, and those are on other types of film. But if you understand the type of adhesive that you have, and then you have to know how to mix your slip solutions. If you mix them too rich, or you don't mix them strong enough, that'll influence how this film is going to stick to the glass after you evacuate the slip solution. And again, you got to consider temperature. Temperature is, the hotter it is, the faster the bonding process is going to start. But if you understand the adhesive, you understand how to mix your slip solutions, you understand where you are, what environment you're in, the climate, the humidity, things of that nature, and you kind of get a groove going, you should be able to put that tint on that window, and you should be able to evacuate that slip solution, and you give it a final pass, and that pressure sensitive adhesive, which is pressure sensitive. It's sensitive to the pressure. And you should begin to get that bond immediately. If you want it to stick immediately and you know how to formulate everything, it'll stick immediately. If you do everything I'm telling you and it's still moving, then you got to make some adjustments. Or if you want to, if you're like, man, I don't have time to go back and make adjustments, and that's the kind of the problem I'm having, take your heat gun right here, put it on, take your heat gun, and just sit there and heat the glass up. And then the bonding, you'll initiate the bonding process. It doesn't take very long. The key is to do a spot here and a spot here, because if you do one spot, then this is still going to move. If you do two spots, then you've anchored both of them, and then it's stuck. Then you can roll the window up. Maybe that's helped you. That's food for thought. Lots of things to consider, but there's just some ways to do that.
All right. Jeff K asks about the VW Jettas. It's a popular car where he is.
Right.
And it has some tight seals. Some tinters leave a gap. What do you recommend?
Okay. You talking about side windows or back windows? Look, I can answer this question. I'm going to assume he's asking about side windows, because the Jettas on the back windows, there's a border, and you don't have to leave a gap unless we're talking about an older vehicle with a rubber gasket. But if you are, let me know. But at least on the late model ones, I'm assuming you're talking about the side windows, because Volkswagens are tight. I mean, they're all tight. And so, you know, when you have a glass and you're about to tint it and you know it's tight, I test it. You know, if I might stick my knife behind it, I'm going to see how much space, how deep I got. But if I don't have a lot to work with, I'm going to cut my patterns more perfect, and I'm going to be careful about, light gaps, because when I craft my pattern, I'm going to craft it when it's fully up, and I'm going to use my Sharpie, and then I'm going to roll it down, and then I'm going to do my Sharpie again. If I have two sets of Sharpie lines, then I know there's a shift. And then I just cut on the outside of both Sharpie lines, but right on the money, because I know that's all I have to work with. If I cut on the wrong side of the Sharpie lines, anytime that window moves or rolls down, I'm going to see a gap. Gaps aren't cool. Customers bring the car back. So tight
side window.
Side window. Okay. So basically, tight windows. I'm just going to cut right on the money. On windows that aren't tight, I'm going to I'm going to cut a quarter of an inch, because I really want to go as far back in there as I can, without going too far. But on the tight cars, I mean, I'm going to really, save myself a lot of headache. The worst thing you can do is overcut the pattern, make it too long, and then have to fight it in there. And then here comes the trash, here come the creases. And sometimes you just can't even do the window. It's that tight. So by making it just right, learning how to craft that pattern, you can get that tint on there. I mean, I tinted a Lexus LS400 the other day trying to do some experiments with the tint. And that's a hard window. And I didn't want to take the door apart, because that's the way I would do it if it was my car. But I was just testing film, so I was going to take the film off, but I wanted it to look nice. So I cut it just exact on the bottom, on the sides, and I put it on. I thought, that actually looks pretty good. I mean, I could probably live with that, but I didn't. But anyway, that's what I do on the tight seals. Just be exact.
Let's go back to Jay Wise's question about the Cadillac. He's basically asking about tackling windows that shift out of their seals when rolling them down to cut your pattern.
Okay.
Does that ring a bell?
Yeah. So we're talking about the roll down window. Now I'm assuming that when we're talking about a roll down window, as they're rolling down, if you just grab it, I just want to grab one of these windows behind me. Let me just throw this bad boy over here. Here you go. Here's a window. How about this? Okay. We're going to roll it down. Okay, whoa. Okay, look. Let me hold it. Okay, this doesn't shift that much. But I understand what he's saying. If we can grab this window and shift it, and then you can see the edge of it, you're probably going, how do you cut this? Well, I would actually roll that bad boy up like this. I would put my film on there. You know what? What the heck? Let me just put, can you get a good camera angle on that? I'll back off the camera for a second. But, hey. Let me just get a piece of tint real quick and demonstrate. I was going to see how this works out on live. Here we go. Okay. I'm going to get a piece of film. This is a 20-inch roll right here. I'm just showing this for the video. I'm not trying to make this look especially pretty or anything. I just want to answer this question. This is a good question. I'm going to anchor that film down. Ooh, that's not good. Okay, I want to anchor this film down.
I'm on this camera.
Okay, I want to anchor this film down. And here's how you do that. You know, you're going to take this Sharpie, and you're gonna use that edge right there. There's your edge right there. You know, anything on this side of the edge is going to be visible because that's open water, as I call it. Anything over here is going to go in that seal. I want to know where that edge is over here. I'm gonna mark it here. I'm gonna mark it down here, like that. Boom. And then what I want to do is I want to roll it down. There's two reasons I want to roll it down right now. I want to prepare to cut that top. Ignore how I'm doing this. I'm just doing this to get it out of my way. I'm not trying to make it perfect. I want to cut this top. I want to get it out of my way. Okay, boom. Now, see this Sharpie line right here? Okay, if this window shifted when I rolled it down, then this Sharpie line would either be this way or this way, but I could see the shift. I could put the line it up. If it shifted, I could see it. Because that line was made when the window was up. Now I want to, okay, I'm going to force this window to shift a little bit. I really can't. It's not a good one. This is a Toyota Camry, I think. But listen, if it did shift, then I would mark it again. I'll mark it again. Now, if it shifted, which it didn't, I would have two sets of Sharpies. I'm just going to make it pretend like it shifted. Boom. Okay. Now, I would have something that looked like that. I don't know if you can see that, but there's two lines. Okay, and I would do it over here, and I would have two lines over there. Now, when I'm ready to do a final pattern, I'm going to cut on the outside line over here and the outside line over here. And that's going to be something that I can put on there, line up, and I'm going to eliminate my gaps. And when that window's rolled down, because I've accounted for that in my Sharpies, that's how my Sharpie method will prevent gaps from occurring in shifting windows. That's the Sharpie method, and that's what I want to point out real quick for you. Can we change cameras or?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Okay, did that help? I mean, did I answer the question? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
We'll see it too. So
okay,
what they see compared to when they.
Okay, I got you.
All right. Let's see.
Could my I want to know if I answered the question, and I want to know if you could see how well you could see what I was doing from the live stream. I didn't know if it was a good image. Okay.
All right. Let's see. What is the lowest temperature you can tint at?
That's a good question, and it's got a real simple answer. And I'm gonna throw this at you, and I'm not trying to sound smart, but the lowest temperature I've successfully ever tinted at would be 33 degrees, or maybe 32.1, because if it gets to 32 and the films, the water starts freezing on the glass, I don't know what to tell you, man. I've never figured out how to tint when the water freezes on the glass, but I have, even in Georgia. I've been outside and I've tried to spray the glass, in the tent. And before I got there, it started chunks of ice was on the glass, and it was making a mess. And I had to just throw my hands up. I never knew what to do. The only thing I would have been able to do is get that car into a bay, get the temperature above 32, keep the water from freezing, and then I could get the film on the glass. Now, the colder it is, the longer it takes to bond, and there's a lot more room for slower curing window films and little water pockets and things like that. And by the way, if it does get below freezing after you tint the car, say you tint it inside, roll it outside, you better really pay attention to your how you squeegee, because you got to get that water out, man. And you might even want to add some alcohol to the water to help promote the curing process, because the alcohol is a solvent and it's actually like an adhesive promoter, and it will help the water evaporate quicker and cause the freezing temperature to have to drop, and maybe keep customers from calling up like, hey man, I got bubbles in my, they'll go away. Those are some tips there if you're going to be rolling a car out into the freezing weather. So I hope that answers some of the questions here. What else we got, Aaron?
Well, we can start with a small one.
Okay,
Sam L said, can you do live stream training?
I can. We haven't evolved into that, but I don't see why I couldn't. And we even know that we can not only do live stream training, but we can do, tell me if I'm wrong, Aaron, we can do live stream where we invite only certain people. So if you're involved in training and we're just dealing with one or two people, that might even be a possibility as well.
Yeah, any number of people.
Any number of people, we can handle it. Hey, bring it on. Let's see how many we can do. We can.
All right, and then another question from Mel. He's got a difficult question.
Okay.
So he got a ticket for his tint,
Okay.
but the cop who pulled him over had very dark tint on his car.
Okay.
How is that possible? He understands he is the law, but he was like 5% on the front in Washington State.
Okay, let me just disclose to everybody here, I'm not a lawyer. I cannot render legal advice, but I got an opinion. I will tell you that unfortunately the law in most states, and they're all different by the way, but most states exempt law enforcement from that law. And if you don't like that, you may want to deal with that from your Congress members, senators, anybody in politics that you think can influence that law to be changed. But until then, they can put the film on their car however they want, and you can't do anything about it. I didn't say I agreed with it. I just said those are the facts. There are laws, though, from state to state that do regulate our window film and how dark those films can be. And some of those laws are net laws, and some of them are actual laws that govern what the film is off the roll. But when we take something off the roll and we put it on a piece of glass, and that combines, we're going to get a new net visible light transmission. And most laws are talking about net visible light transmission. So real quick, if you put a 35% on an average car, late model car, most cars are metered when they don't look like they have any tint on them, they still meter at about 74%, 70, 78. But when you slap that 35% on that type of glass, you're going to have another net number. And that net number can be anywhere from 26 to maybe 30%. And you think, hey, I'm putting 35 on. No, you're really not. You're putting a film that's going to net on an average car, possibly at 30 or below. So you got to be careful with that. That can get you in some trouble. What else we got, Aaron? What do you?
Well, we got someone asking. He's wanting to start tinting windows.
Okay.
Should he just practice on his own vehicles with some cheap tint, or just go ahead and go with, what he's gonna use, like some higher quality stuff?
I love that question. I get asked that question almost every day, and I've got an answer. I think you should use your own car to practice with. That's not a bad idea. At least if you screw something up, it's on you. There's no third party involved, unless somebody else owns the car. I think it's a bad idea. I mean, probably a horrible idea to go try to find some cheap window film, like say at your local auto parts store. And the reason I say that, because it's a good idea thinking, they'll sell it to me in a smaller increment. It'll be a more affordable price. And so if I screw it up, and there's not a lot lost. But here's the problem with that. That film is very difficult to work with. It's even very difficult for me to work with. I've been doing this 30 years, and if I see that coming, I cringe. I can get it on, but man, I struggle. I struggle to get that stuff on and make it look good. Now, if I struggle with it, and I've been doing this for a long time, how do you think you're going to do with it? I mean, I don't mean to say I'm better than you, but I'm telling you, it's not fun to work with. Now, here's what would break my heart, okay? You might be a good guy, and you may be the next best tinter, and it may be a blessing for you to get into this business, but, I would hate for you to buy that film thinking you're going to save a little bit of money. That's a great idea, great philosophy, but, what if you got a bad taste in your mouth and this film was just creasing and it looked bad, it had a blue hue to it, and it just felt like rubber, and, you're like, tint's not for me. I'm done with it. I'm gonna let them have it. You see, that's sad to me because that's what's going to happen. And I think that if you were to spend a little bit of money and get a little bit better product, if you break it all down by the square foot, there's not a lot of difference in price between the auto parts store and what a professional can sell you, on a 100-foot roll or a 50-foot roll. And you're going to have so much better experience with a more professional grade, product. And they can. I don't want to say they install themselves, but man, you will. I mean, the hard coats are slippery on a lot of them, and the glues are better. The product's thicker. Sometimes they're just easier to work with. I mean, I could get into all the details of how they're built and made. I don't want to bore you, but they're so much. They're a blessing to work with. They shrink better. The ratios of polyester stretch are better. I mean, you're just going to be like, wow, this stuff's easy to put on. I think I'm going to try this after all. So don't shortchange yourself on some bad film. It's a nightmare. get the good film. Don't get ceramic. Don't get crazy high-end films. Just get good dyed film. A 2-ply 1.5 mil, deep dyed film from a reputable company. I would prefer to be the one to sell it to you, but anybody can sell it to you if they're reputable, and you would have a way better experience than you would at an auto parts store. Trust me on that. Don't start off on the right foot.
All right.
Okay.
Jay Wise has another question.
Okay.
Is it a good idea to double tint on a window, given I don't have a dark enough percentage, or should I refrain from this idea?
That's a good question. That's a real good question because you can tint on top of tint. Okay, just remember that the film initially that's on the glass is got a window film style adhesive, probably a pressure sensitive style adhesive, and it's designed to stick to the glass. And it's prepped correctly. It's bonding. It's a high energy surface. The glass is porous. Sticking probably the way it was designed to work. Now you're going to come along and you're going to tint on top of that. You're probably going to be tinting on top of the film and its hard coating. And the hard coating is less porous, slippery sometimes, and it's going to be probably a different surface for the next layer to bond to. Now, typically that's okay if we're going to put it on a piece of glass that's not going to move up and down. I mean, if you put it on a glass that rolls up and down and it's going past the seal, and it depends on how you tint over it. There's more of an opportunity for it to peel as it rolls up and down over time, and it depends on how it's installed. If you put it on a fixed piece of glass, like a quarter window or a back window, not such a bad idea. I'm not going to recommend it, but I'm not going to say don't do it. But at least when you're dealing with a fixed piece of glass, at least it's not moving, and there's less of a chance for it to peel if it's installed correctly. I was going to say something else about that. Oh yeah, here's where I caution you the most. Okay, if you're going to put it on top of an existing film that you don't know where it came from, you don't know how long it's been on the car. It just, you bought it used or you bought it already tinted and you don't know what's on it. Whatever you put on top of it's only as good as what it's sticking to. And if you don't know what that film is, it's probably a bad idea to stick something on there unless especially if you know what you're putting on top of it is a good film and it's got a lifetime warranty. Well, don't put it on a piece of junk film that's getting ready to fail or fade because you're only as good as what you're sticking it to. So just remember that. I would refrain from putting it on film you don't know where it came from or what it is or how long it's going to last. So that's how I look at it.
All right.
What else we got?
All right. Let's see. All right. Best squeegee sequence on rear window and windshields. T pattern question mark. Been doing horizontal on rear window and windshield for a while and always have fingers at the bottom.
Well, I'm not going to say one pattern's better than the other, but just remember if this is the back, just pretend this is the back glass. I mean, if I'm going to put a piece of film, let's say the back glass is curved. Let me think about that. Yeah, it's curved, so it's going to look like this. I'm going to put the piece of film on the inside. Well, what I want to do is I want to anchor it. I want to anchor it in the middle. I want to go from this side. I want to start from maybe from here, go from here, go down and go up, and then maybe work out the corners. I mean, if you're really comfortable with this, you may want to go across the middle, and then you may want to go this way and go that way. But you have to work the film on the glass to the curves. You can't just start randomly squeegeeing. You may get the film to stick in places, and then it may create a bind if it didn't relax the way it was meant to be on the glass. So the squeegeeing sequence is very important to get a film to lay down flat and smooth without creating a bind. So there is a method to the madness. That is important. And if you don't understand that, you're going to wind up with funny places everywhere. That's even on the sides. These fingers can come in and annoy you, and if you don't really stretch it and pull it and know how to get that film on there. Without actually showing you, I don't know a better way to really describe it, but it's not about, should I use a T pattern or should I use an H pattern or a cross. It's just if you understand the flow and how to get that film to relax on the glass, you can use all those patterns. Another possibility is, when you're squeezing, you might not think about is when you're pulling water out, it's going to be released. And, where's it going to go? If we go up with it, and we pull the squeegee back, well, then it's going to come back down. And if it comes back down after it's been up, what's it bringing with it if it goes underneath my film? It's going to get trash in it. So generally, I like to go up in a very narrow band. I just want to get that to stick. Then I want to go across, and then I kind of go up, or across, and then up, and then I want to just swoop all my water out to the side, and let that go down, and then dry it off real quick because I don't want to introduce it back into my film. So you got to kind of look at gravity and where water is going to go. You don't want it to come back in the film, and you don't want it to suck back through the sides. That's why when it's out, you want to get rid of it really quickly because the window film, when we squeegee it, it's literally at that point, it's not bonding yet. The glue is not sticking. It's just a suction on the glass, and we don't want to introduce water after the vacuum or suction has been created because it'll suck it back in, and that's where you're going to bring the trash in. Because once it goes out and comes back in, it's got trash in it. So you got to get it out and get it to disappear, and that's usually where you soak it up real quick or manage it, away from the glass or fling it off or push it down or let it soak up in a towel at the bottom. There's 101 ways to do that, but water management is critical to having clean installations. So maybe I over-answered the question, but I hope I shed some light on that.
All right. Here's a good question.
Okay.
By Chris Hoff. I bought some tint from someone else and it has carbon in it. Every car I have tinted with this tint, it looks great. However, when the sun is beating on the window, it's hazy. Do you use this type of tint?
Well, yes and no. Now, I got to be careful here. This is a live stream. I can make a long speech out of carbon window film, but first of all, I'm going to really work on the short answer here, okay? Typically, carbon window film, if it's real carbon, it is Asian in origin. That's where the carbon technology is coming from. And that doesn't mean it's bad. Asian doesn't mean bad. It's just sometimes people in the USA will think or equate Asian technology to poor quality. Don't do that in this example, okay? Just understand that by saying Asian, the technology is coming from a different location than what we're typically seeing here in the USA. Well, what we're typically seeing here in the USA that's originating from the USA is dye, deep dye. Glue dye and dye inside the polyester doesn't originate typically from this country. That's Asian again, but the deep dyeing process is where we are in the USA with most brands that we're familiar with. Now, let's talk about carbon. Carbon is coming from the Asian side. And the Asians, since they are not really good at dyeing film, they've been able to introduce their products into our market and compete with the dyeing technologies in the USA and any other dyeing technologies that are similar to that are successful. I'll go into that some other time. But for this question, let's get back to carbon. So the way they're able to make a window film and give it different shades is using the additive of carbon. Okay, they can also use pigments and dyes, but for this example, we're talking about carbon. What they're going to typically do is they're going to put, most likely, there's always different ways to make something, but the majority of what I'm seeing, the carbon is in the laminate layer of adhesive, and that's in between the two clear layers of polyester. Most carbon films I'm seeing are two-ply. Now, we're talking about little particles of carbon of nano size. The nano is a billionth, okay? And a nanometer is a billionth of a meter. We're talking about an increment of measurement we can measure the width of a molecule with. So what that means is we're talking about a small particle. And these little bitty particles are really mixed together in kind of a chemical fashion, and they're put in the laminate layer of adhesive through a process called chemical dispersion. And boom, we got a sludgy carbon material that goes in the glue that colors it, and it put it together, and we've got a beautiful substrate material that we can put hard coat release liner glue. Boom, we got a window film. Now you're noticing the haze. Okay, you're noticing the haze because it's a particle technology. Now different companies that are involved with this from Asia have different levels of technology. Some have really big particles, and some have little bitty particles, and some have inconsistent sized particles. So there's different degrees of this haze that you're noticing. It's actually referred to as low angle haze. That's because you can put it on inside the bay. Looks beautiful. You can't see anything. Maybe the customers will pay and everything. It's the next day they call you back and say, "Hey, I noticed that at a certain time of the day, or when the sun's in the morning, But anyway, when the sun's at a low angle in the sky and it's coming in a certain direction, it's actually going to reflect off the little particles indiscriminately. Boom, boom, boom. Light's going to be refracted everywhere, and you're going to notice a hazing effect. Just like if your front windshield was dirty. Say you're driving at night, or maybe maybe you're driving, maybe when the sun's going down and you can't see the sun right now, but you come out from behind the trees and boom, your whole front windshield's white. or maybe it's white where the windshield wipers aren't going. That's low angle haze. There's little particles of contamination on your front windshield that are reflecting sunlight as it hits it head on, and you're like, whoa, I can't see very well. That's exactly what's happening with the window film. Those little particles are reflecting sunlight indiscriminately when the light hits it in a certain direction, and boom, you got the low angle haze. So in a lot of nanoparticle technologies, you're seeing low angle haze. Now, some companies have it so bad that I wouldn't put it on my mother's car. And other companies, do have a really, really interesting product that's hardly detectable. So we're getting the benefit of the carbon. They're not putting additives in the film now, or like pigments and pigments and dyes. And they got the particles that are really, really small. And you can put the film on and it looks beautiful. And the haze is very, very minimal. You can't even hardly detect it. And when you can get it done right, you can avoid fading and you can avoid color change with carbon, because that's the benefit of carbon. And carbon brings, of course, it brings more IR performance. Dye lets it go through mainly. It's not a performance product. It blocks out visible light. So does carbon, but carbon does a little bit more because it absorbs more of the solar spectrum, specifically the IR. And again, so that's what's going on with carbon. Carbon's coming from another part of the world. It's competing with the dyed films. Somebody might ask, what's better, carbon or dye? Really, if you get the best dyed film that I can find out there and the best carbon film you can find out there, they're both about the same. It's like saying, which car is the best? Is it a Yugo or is it a Chevrolet Aveo? And I'm going to base my decision on which one of them performs the best. Are you kidding me? These cars are both slow. It doesn't matter which one's faster. We're not buying you wouldn't want to buy these cars based on how fast they are. You might want to look at how much they are, what color they are, how long they're going to last. That's like with dyed films versus carbon films. If they're, I really don't care. Neither one of them perform that great. If we want to get into performance, we need to start talking about like IR films, like ceramic technologies and things like that. But anyway, carbon versus dye, they're both good films. One comes from another part of the world, and they're competing with these guys doing the dye, and they both are very equal if they're both very good films. I will say this, I'm a little partial to carbon because of marketing, okay? I can tell my customer if I'm trying to tint somebody's windows, listen, this guy down the streets are using the guys down the street are using dye, and we like those guys, and they're really good at what they do, and we used to use dye also, but you know what, we've changed. We're going with the carbon. It's a newer technology that we're seeing in the USA. It blocks out more heat. It doesn't fade, it doesn't change colors. We know that dye in the past has that reputation of changing colors and fading. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, this is a live stream now, I'm not going to, this is all marketing. We can take carbon and I'm seeing so many more ways to spin it and compete in the industry, when we're trying to just get a car to tint. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's actually better, because that would not be true. But, from a marketing perspective, I've got more range to sell it. I've got more things I can say about it. I got more interest I can create about it. And if I get a really good carbon film, I don't have to really deal with any low angle haze. It's almost non-existent anymore on some of the better, quality carbon products that I see out there. Some of them are bad. You'll know which ones are bad. But I told you I wasn't going to talk for a long time on carbon, but maybe I did. But I'm going to kind of end it at that. Unless you need to know some more information about it, that's kind of my take on it. So particle technology gives you some low angle haze, and it's getting better in some of the brands, and that's what you're seeing. That's what it is. Does that answer the question pretty good?
I think it does.
All right.
Let's see.
Watermelon. Jolly Rancher flavor.
Is it a good idea cutting the tint for both doors in one go? Both side doors in one go?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, anything you can do as a hand cutter to be more efficient. I was able to shave a lot off the time on tinting a car. Here we are. We're in a bay. We're in a business. We're trying to tint cars for a living to support our families, and it gets into production, man. If you're going to go to a competition and you're going to try to win it, and you want to try to do, 2 doors at one time, I don't see how that's an advantage for you. I'd rather do one methodically cut window at a time and make it perfect as I can. But you know what? Production's production. I can slap 2 pieces of film together, and I can put that on the glass, and I've only got to work once, not twice. I can get 2 for 1. I do my Sharpies, I do my cuts, and sometimes I can even double shrink. Don't really recommend that. I've kind of run into some complications with that sometimes. It depends on the film and how much actual shrinking I have to do. But I'm just gonna, after I craft the pattern completely, I'm just gonna roll the windows up and I'm gonna put the film back on there. I'm just gonna go ahead and double snap and shrink the bottoms and on each window separately. But as far as cutting and crafting, man, all day long, man, that's my style as a hand cutter. That's what I like to do. And I recommend it. It saves time and you can do very, very quality work with that technique. If you know what you're doing, you're not gonna suffer. It's good.
Okay. All right.
My 2 cents.
Let's see.
How many people are watching on this broadcast? I'm just curious. It's our first one.
33.
33. Yeah, that's pretty good. A lot of people will see it when it is recorded or whatever. But yeah, it's pretty cool, man. We're gonna advertise this more in advance, and I do want to find out from you guys. What's the best time to do these? Do I need to do them on the weekends? Do I need to do them later in the evening? Do I need to do them earlier in the day? Just give us some feedback. And again, let us know what our video's doing. My audio, I don't even know if this is the audio that's working.
It's off the webcam. No one has said anything, so I think it's pretty.
Okay.
It sounds good.
It could probably be better if we could get this to connect, but we're okay. We're doing good, I guess. Everybody can hear what I'm saying?
First stream?
Okay, it's synced. Okay, it's cool.
Everything's okay.
Okay.
All right.
So I don't need this in, do it?
No.
Okay, good. I'll just put it down here. Okay.
All right. Someone's just curious in seeing a video on a 2-stage install on a 15-foot or more Dodge Ram. He can't get a clean install unless he removes the panels and bottom seals and bottom loads the window film. So maybe we just put that one in the
Does he want to know how to 2-stage it and get a good job, or does he just?
So. I just would like to see us do a video on that.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you the first thing I would do with that one is I'd probably take the felt. I'd use this. I've got just regular masking tape, and I would mask it. It doesn't really take but a minute. It's not that big a deal. And I don't know if I'd pull the sweep out or not, but I'd have to look at it. Sometimes some of those seals come out easier than they are to, mask them off and have to contend with them. But yeah, we could figure that out. That's I'm a 2-stage guy. I haven't found many cars that I can't 2-stage. But I guess there are some I probably would bottom load or definitely take apart, but I didn't run into too many. What else we got, Aaron?
All right. Is it always a good idea to heat fingers on all 4 doors, not just the back window?
I'm going to give you my opinion. I always heat every side window, no matter what. If you're going to 2-stage, especially. But I'm going to argue with this in favor of heating, shrinking fingers on every window, and I'm going to base my opinion on facts, on science. Okay. I know some people can take a window and tint it and not heat it and get away with it. I used to do that all the time, did it for years. But I will tell you that when you tint the window and you squeegee it out, roll it up, and then you work on the bottom and you don't shrink it, even if it doesn't appear to need shrinking, and you're not popping seals or taking door panels out, then what you're going to have is you're going to have the window film just kind of laying in there and with all the moisture that comes down. And if it's just laying there, moisture has a tendency to draw back up in there because you are creating a suction on the glass when you squeegee the water out. It's sucking on the glass. It's not really sticking by the glue at that point, typically, unless it's real hot or you manipulate that with heat, or you've got a pretty good slip solution with some solvents in it or something that's gonna be like an adhesive promoter. But other than that, it's just gonna be laying there, limping there. And this water's easy. It'll find it. It'll suck back up in there. If you get that, it's annoying. Okay, it could come back. That could happen after the customer leaves, or it could bring the trash up with it. It's just aggravating. If you shrink the window on the outside, if it has any fingers, shrink those first, and then over shrink it. It's called the double snap because by over shrinking it, we're going to create tension in the film. It's going to have I can almost. I'll tell you what. Let's just show you right here. How about that? Please forgive me. I'm just going to get to the shrinking part. This is not the way I tint windows. I'm just going to finish up with these cuts here. This is not the way I tint. I tell you, just going to make it look more like a pattern so it looks like something. Let's see here. this is a good. Yeah, don't worry about all this shifting going on. I'm just gonna. Let me just get a little further down the line with this so it looks a little bit more presentable. I'm glad this isn't going on a customer's car because this is not how to tint a window video. This is just answering a specific question here, okay? And all right. Let me just do one more little cut here. I'm almost. Okay. Let's see here. There's my favorite blade right there. Okay. This is going to be this is going to look like a pattern here when we're ready to shrink it. Okay. I'm sorry guys, I wasn't really prepared for this, but I can make this happen. Okay. Here we are. Now, we've just crafted this pattern, and now we want to see if we're going to shrink it or not. And I told you I shrink everything. Okay, so here we go. As you can see, forget that little crease right there. You wouldn't want to, where am I at there? Which camera am I? I'm on this camera. Okay. As you see, I wouldn't really, most guys would be like, oh, we don't have to shrink this. This is, there's no fingers here, you know, we don't have to shrink this. Okay, I disagree. Now, I want to show you something. I want to lift this up and put it down. You see what it's doing there? It's just kind of limp, it's just laying there. Now, I want to show you what the science is behind the shrink and why you have to do it. Okay. If I have this film that's just laying here with no tension, it's just going straight down, water will suck up into there when you transfer it on the inside. But this is my little Wagner. It's an old one, but it's reliable, I guess. If you create fingers in this, I'm just going to play around with it, not do anything. Just make them happen. I'm going to over-exaggerate this a little bit because I'm trying to prove a point or show you a specific science here of what's going on and why we're doing this. I'm overdoing this. I'm just okay. Let's not my favorite heat gun in the world, but this is a good one for the video. Notice how I got the film about a half an inch, quarter of an inch above the rubber seal here. Okay, now let's do it a little bit more. I don't normally have to shrink this much, okay? I'm doing this to prove a point. There we go. Exaggerated point, how about that? Exaggerated. Okay, now, I want to make that look a little more pretty. Okay. Here's what's happening. Now this, I just spent a lot of time, a lot of shrinking to get back what looks like where I started. There's no fingers here. It's where I started. There's no fingers here now. I want to show you something kind of cool. Remember when I picked the film up a minute ago? I'm going to pick the film up again and drop it. Notice the smiley face right here. I'm actually just going to, I'm going to trace it. See this smiley face right here? Boom. Right there. Okay. There's our tension. But see that line I drew? Okay. Here's what's happening. We're going to squeegee this on the inside. We're going to find an anchor in the middle. Now we've got to pull this finger down. And we got to pull it this way, and then to get this to lay down, we got to pull it this way. Okay. All right. What's happening right here is it's almost like we're pulling the two corners like this. It's like we're pulling it. Okay. When you put tension on the film, like we've done artificially, there's now tension on the film because it's pulling. Because I've had to pull it this way, pull it that way, and now it's stuck and it's tight. Okay, if I didn't have any tension on the film, I'm gonna do another one. Then I'm gonna have fingers. I should have done this in the beginning. Let me just do this real quick. I'm gonna get a fresh piece of film just to show a quick little point here. I don't even have to cut this out. I'm just gonna lay it on there. Here's where it's all gonna come together, right here. This film's not been shrunk or anything, straight off the roller. Now, if I get a finger in this film, I'm making one. Okay? See that finger right there? Now, if I put the tension in the film, the finger goes away. See that finger go away? See that finger right there? I can make it go away with tension. Can you see that, Aaron? Pretty good. I can make it go away. Now, see, it's back. But if I want to make it go away, I can put tension on it. But if I don't put tension on it, it can come back. You know, that moisture can get up in there. But if I got constant tension on this film artificially, wait for it to dry and tack up, it'll never feed. But that technique I just showed you, the double snap, I'm artificially creating the tension so water won't go back up in it. If it's just laying there, water will go back up in it all day long. That's the reason why I shrink every single window. It's called the double snap, and that's the science behind why it works. Window, if you bottom load and you don't shrink it, that's the issue I have. If you don't go deep enough and you walk away, you'll see fingers coming up. A lot of those guys at bottom load, if you ask them if they've ever had a customer come back and they've had a little bitty finger, I bet you they have. I've seen a lot of them that way because the top loading method with the double snap, not going to have that problem. If you do it right, you never have a problem. So that's why I do that. Anyway, I get real into the window tinting part of it. Did I do a good job answering that question? Is that?
I mean, no one has said anything for a few minutes.
Okay.
I assume they were absorbed and soaking in what you were saying. All right. Let's see.
Just didn't know what kind of examples or tinting we'd be doing. We're just in the studio. We can do anything really.
It worked out pretty well. Good camera angle on there.
Okay.
All right. This gentleman had a Chevy Impala rear window tinted very dark by a reputable installer. After the install, his dash lights reflected off his rear window at night into his rear view mirror. Why did this happen? You need to read it.
Okay, Impala. Let me break it down. The Impala got tinted.
The rear window got tinted very dark.
Okay.
After the install, his dash lights reflected off his rear window at night into his rear view mirror.
Wow, I'd have to put that together in my head.
That's kind of
well, look, I can make this. That's a complicated thing for me to figure out, but I can tell you what's happening. We've definitely put a window film on the inside of the glass that's darkened the glass, and we've altered or changed the inside reflectivity. I don't know what type of film it was, but I'm probably going to assume it was either dark. I think you said it was dark.
very dark.
Or possibly even a metallized product like a high performance film. The reflectivity on those, I'm just kind of giving you a blanket number, is around 7%. You know, they're a little shiny. 7's kind of shiny. An average non-reflective flat glass film of that darkness is probably going to be around 3-4%, maybe 5. But high performance films are 7 and 8. They're shiny, a little more blingy or whatever. But the darker and a little more shinier the film gets, the more reflection you're going to get. And that's probably what was happening. You take the film off, the glass is clear, and it's probably not going to be as reflective. You're not going to get that effect. I would bet you, even if you didn't have tint, you probably would still get that effect, but it would be probably harmless or not even to the level of nuisance. But you may notice it. It's still there, but it's very faint. But of course, put the tint on, boom, you can see it really, really, really well. So that's probably what happened.
Do you wrap cars?
Well, I'm going to say unofficially, no, I don't wrap cars. I've never done it as a business. I've wrapped cars, And I started out not knowing anything in the world about it and just wrapped some of my own vehicles and feel like I did pretty good. I've introduced my car that I've wrapped to several people in the community and then told them it was everything they could see or touch or feel was vinyl. And I've had people get up on it with their nose and look at it and say, no, that's not vinyl. Yeah, it's vinyl. I will pat myself on the back. I think I did a really good job. But I can point every little defect and detail that I screwed up on, and I'm very critical about it. But and I learned a lot from it. You know, if I did the next one, I think I would even be better. But you know, it's amazing how you can take your window film installing skills. You use the same tools. And I mean, when we're talking about tools, you can use all these tools that's in this catalog. We've even added a section of tools that we find are the most popular for that vinyl installation. We don't sell them all, but this is just a variety of some of the popular ones. It doesn't take many of these. Keep your existing tools, use the same bay, just buy a different product. Boom, you're another business. You can wrap a car, you can change the color. You know, you can do graphics. It's pretty cool to be able to modify your business and, you know, maybe take up some slack in the slow times on the weekends and or just to kind of break it up so you're not so burnt out. Man, I love vinyl for that reason. And hopefully one day soon we'll be distributing some of that stuff. So we're working that deal out as we speak. So maybe it'll go through.
All right. Chris Hoff asks, sometimes I get very tiny bubbles in my tint. They seem to show up the next day and always towards the top. I guess it's contamination. Is there any way to get these out?
Okay, I think I can put you on to something that's probably going to help you, but I got two solid bits of advice that may help you with this. Now before I say what they are, I want to say once we get on a topic of contamination in general, we can make a whole new live stream just dedicated to that one topic. It gets very complicated. I mean, and I'll kind of get to the point where I think you need to get to some of the top 5 reasons that you need to be watch out for contamination. If you're getting it at the top of side windows, I'm gonna bet $1. I'm not a gambling guy, but I'm gonna bet $1 that it's either coming from the top edge of the glass. That's not my number one answer though. If you don't, I mean, physically wipe the beveled edge of a glass before you know are ready to install the film and make sure that that little line of dirt or that contamination is off, then you can get some of that dot action from there. But believe it or not, when I was having these mystery dots that were showing up at the top of my glass and I couldn't figure out for the life of me for a long time where they were coming from, yeah, I accidentally figured it out one day. I was casually, I don't need to do a demonstration, but I do have a window that has felt on it over here. But I was casually, okay, the window was in a frame. I rolled it down about an inch or two, and then I started my cleaning. I wiped the top edge, you know, and you know I got that cleaned. Then I squeegeed real careful, and, you know, and everything to my knowledge was perfect. I masked the felt, everything, but I didn't address the felt at the top. And as I was moving my squeegee across, my knuckle just barely scraped the felt, and it just rained. Like you couldn't see it. It's just that fuzzy little floaty stuff in the air. It just kind of, and there was my little problem. I saw it right there. Boom, that was my problem. So your knuckle. Subconsciously, you don't even know your knuckles hitting that rail, that felt, and it shakes it like a tree. Boom, there it is, right there. That's what it probably is. It's either the top beveled edge, or it's probably a window with felt. I would bet you tint a frameless window or a framed window with a rubber. You know, if you're still getting with a rubber frame, no felt, then I would be more looking at that top edge. So those are my top 2. I won't really go into the top 5, but I'll throw some more at you. Let me just throw some more at you. When you're peeling the release liner off the film, wet the release liner. Okay, static electricity can suck, you know, anything to the film after you peel it because it kind of creates static electricity. Usually static electricity builds up in these dyed films because there's no way to discharge it. These high performance films, they hardly ever have static because they discharge. There's metal and they're conductive, and as long as you can move the electricity through it, you can discharge. Films that are non-metallized films, they don't discharge, so they build up static, like socks do in the dryer in the wintertime. And they just kind of stay there. When you're pulling that release liner down, it just, you know, and things start sticking to your film. Wet that sucker, man, and then pull it down, then wet the film. That may be another reason for it. I can probably keep going on little stuff. Check my water, make sure my water source is free and clear of contamination. Try distilled water. Don't try to figure out where your contamination is coming from. Go the other side. Buy distilled water. You make your fresh batch in a new or perfectly clean bottle that you've already cleaned. Make sure it's clean, and then start from there. And then look at the two things I suggested and wet your release liner. And if you're still having those problems right there, hit me back up because I got a few other things to try, but it starts getting real deep. But those are my recommendations.
Okay. We got Mill asking another question.
Okay.
What is the hardest car you've ever done? Like almost impossible.
Now I've been tinting since 1988, so I'm going to have to say, the older cars in general would be definitely tougher than the newer ones that I'm seeing today because the newer ones tend to have, they're just more user friendly. They've got borders, around the electronics and the silicone or whatever's holding the glass in. The old cars didn't have that. It was just glass or rubber seals, and those glasses, that glass was curved, and you had to shrink it, and you had to put the film on, and you had to deal with the rubber seals and make sure there was no light gaps, so there was no room for error. You had to get on there perfect. So I would say just those cars from the perspective that they were just hard. I mean, because it was hard to put a piece of film on a glass with a rubber gasket and not get any contamination and not get any light gaps. And just the sheer challenge of that was aggravating. That's a good word, aggravating. But there are cars that were just so hard that I just felt like walking away from them. I'd say it would be the Cutlass Supreme four-door back window. I literally couldn't tint that car, and I was so intrigued with that car, and I wasn't going to accept defeat in that it couldn't be not tinted. And after I wasted film and made myself look stupid, I bought the car. I just said, "Screw this, man! I want to buy this car." But I found somebody that was selling one. I bought it, and I bought it not to drive. I've never even driven the car. It's in the pasture right now. But I started messing with that back window until I could tint it, and I did. I tinted it. But that one right there, that one whipped me. That one put a beating on me pretty bad. I'm still limping to this day. It was the hardest. It just seemed impossible, to get that film on there. But that'd be the one.
Just a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have any videos on tinting taillights.
No, most of our videos are automotive window tinting on glass. We typically don't do videos outside that because of we're not actually. We're only using the products that we sell at Flexfilm, and so if we don't sell it, we're not typically going to do videos about the product. But not to say we wouldn't. We just are. We still have so many videos left to make about automotive window film. It's like an endless supply. So we're sticking with those until we introduce products, outside window film to our company. Then we'll make those other videos.
What do you think of the new orange and gray reach tool, the long skinny tool?
Yeah, I got it. I should have brought it down here. Maybe. It's up at the building.
Can we go get it?
No, we're good. I don't. Yeah, those are some of the. We got a lot of new tools that have come in this year. We need to add them to our wall. These are all the tools that you commonly see in these catalogs, minus the new stuff. I'm not going to say I don't like it because that would be disrespectful. It's a good tool and I can use it and it's kind of cool. I probably need to warm up to it. Unfortunately, I don't tint windows every day as a professional. I'm still in the distribution and I like helping people and training and things like that now. So, I don't get to use all the new tools like I as a professional every day, daily driver things. I'm not like using it in the battlefield. So I don't have I can't form an opinion about it as, hey, I like it or I don't like it, but I do like it. I tend to gravitate more toward the classic tools or the ones that have been out for longer because I'm more familiar. I'm more familiar with them. Anything that's new doesn't always mean that it's better, But I have found new tools that are better. I just haven't formed my final opinion with it. But if I were going to buy the tool and use the tool, it would definitely be one that I could probably substitute for some of the tools that I would use and get in the hard to reach areas on the bottom of glass. Back glasses, front windshields, and possibly behind brake lights. I haven't really tried it behind brake lights yet, but it's pretty cool. I like it, man. I wouldn't. I'd give it a shot. It's not expensive, and it's something I'd rather have laying around because I feel like when I need it, I'd be very happy that I've had it. Whether I picked it up as a habit for my daily driver, not yet. I hadn't warmed up to it yet like that, but I do like it.
I don't think we have any other questions. We've streamed for about an hour and 24 minutes.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. It seems like, man, just that doesn't hardly seem like we've even been on at all. Yeah.
When you're live streaming.
Well, we only had plans to live stream for about an hour and a half, and we've been on about an hour and 24 minutes. I'd say the first 10 or 15 minutes was sort of botched. We didn't have our audio working right. We've had to use an audio backup that we didn't anticipate. Apparently, it sounds pretty good. You know, we are going to do the live stream. We want to do it on a probably weekly basis, or you know, if the demand's higher, we'll do it on a bi-weekly basis. We're available to do this on weekends, even during the week, during business hours, or even in the evening time. But we really do need some feedback, you know, from people to tell us when they would like to see us. Like maybe there are people not watching us now because it's not convenient for them. We need to know that. We'll figure it out. We're just messing with it now and trying to get everything, the lighting. We got the studio. We can pull cars in our area and we can do actual cars. We do all kinds of stuff. But people can ask me questions about other window films. I mean, you know, we don't make window film at Flexfilm. We're just like you, trying to find the best products to sell. And you know, I've learned who to run from and who to hug, and I've made mistakes. And you know, I don't want to. I got to be careful how I share all my mistakes in the public. But you know, I have made them, and I'm actually not ashamed that I made them. I'm glad I made them because I learned from them. And sometimes I can share from mistakes what I've learned to help people out than what I know. So you know, it's kind of cool.
All right. Last question.
Yeah. Is anything? Is there a question coming in?
One question popped up. Okay. Did you prefer the Frankenstein or reverse rolling back windows in your younger days?
Well, in my younger days, we've never even heard of the California roll or the reverse roll or whatever they call it. So all I had was Frankenstein. But if you really want to go back to the old days, I preferred the 4-inch strips, pre-cut 60 inches wide, already pre-cut before I showed up to the job, because I just laid them on one at a time and overlapped them and cut around the edge and installed them one at a time. And I did them all Frankenstein. As I evolved, I did the you know, the strips along the defroster lines. I would butt them on the seams, and then I progressively once we got into heat molding, it hadn't the technology and the methods of doing it were not up where they are today. So we would typically do back windows in 2 pieces, and we would only splice on the middle line. And then, of course, that we graduated to doing the whole back window in 1 piece. And so once we got there, I really wasn't Frankensteining, nor was I reverse rolling. We typically would, you know, get a partner or a helper to help us transport it to the inside at 1 piece, because we hadn't thought it through. I mean, we're in the early 90s now with this story, like 91, 90. You know, we're still trying to figure out what's the best way to do this. I didn't really get into the reverse roll or California roll, which is what I prefer now. Always. I mean, the fatter and bigger you are, the more you know you're not going to be able to handle that film. Shorter arms you have, it gets tricky. But I figured out. I feel like it's a better way. It's a cleaner way. It's easier for me to get in and out of the car without risking any kind of contamination. And it's my preferred way. It's just when did I start doing it? I probably started doing that, I would say, believe it or not, I started doing it maybe in 2000, 1997 to 2000, somewhere in that time frame is when I started using that method. But I've been using it ever since. Wouldn't do it any other way.
All right.
Any more questions?
No.
Can I slow them down? Okay.
You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, we're kind of getting ready to wrap it up, but I certainly do appreciate anybody that's watching, and I appreciate the questions. Appreciate you guys hanging in there and letting me experiment and see how this goes. I'm going to get to look at it myself later on and see what we need to improve, adjust, make better, change, anything like that. So again, I guess we're going to kind of wrap this up. Unless anybody's got any last questions, let us know, but we're going to otherwise wrap it up here in the next minute or so if there's no more questions coming in. And we'll make an announcement where we're going to do the next live stream, and unless somebody gives us some more feedback in the comments. Hey, listen, if you guys want more information about our videos and stuff, subscribe to our channel. I'm kind of embarrassed, but what's the best way to find our channel if you just want to go straight to it? Just type in Ralph Van.
I mean, they're on our channel right now.
Well, yeah,
but
I know
YouTube.com/Flexfilm Plus.
YouTube.com/Flexfilm Plus, or I think if you go to YouTube and just type in Ralph Van Pelt, boom, there's the channel, pops right up. But subscribe to it, and you'll get everything as it's being uploaded. And we're making videos every week. So and we've got over 100. I don't know how many videos we've got. 100,
over 100,
150. I don't know what the count is, but we've got a lot. So you'll be in there for a long time thumbing through them, see what you want. But what's that? Okay. Anyway, I guess we're signing off. We appreciate you joining our live stream, and thanks for the questions. And come back to see us when we do it again. Over and out.